In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our Township website. Please all stand to salute the flag.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Prupus? Here. Deputy Mayor Sacramandi?
Here.
Mr. Stoller?
Present.
Mayor Romano?
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the May 21st, 2024 regular Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? May I have a motion to approve the June 4th, 2024 regular Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion to approve the June 4th, 2024 special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. McDonald, the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Committee poster contest, did he just?
I think it's.
Okay, so here are our 2024 poster contest winners for the Walk, Bike, and Roll initiative. The first one for the kindergarten through second age category, Rahani Ajarji, second grade at Hartshorn School. Yeah, if you're here, you can come up. Are you here? The second, grade 3 to 5, Annabelle Song and Ho, 5th grade, Washington School. And third, grade 6 through 8th, Arella Ho, 6th grade, Milburn Middle School. Great job. Take some pictures.
You guys want to show your posters?
Hold your posters up.
So just by way of background, the last few years we've held a poster contest for the schools to provide what we will end up using to advertise bike, walk, and roll to Milburn. It's been growing in its popularity, and we're very thankful for the kids and the students that do this, and they do a great job. And so each of them have just received a $25 gift card to Haagen-Dazs. So enjoy. No.
Okay, up next, we have resolution 24-159 to confirm appointments to the Milburn Police Department. Chief?
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to thank the committee for allowing us to present 2 candidates for consideration as police officers. First, we're going to have Devin Kiernos. 21 years old and resides in Union with his family. Devin graduated from Pinelands Regional High School in 2021. He attended Union County College and graduated with his associate's degree in criminal justice in 2023. He has worked as a loss prevention officer at Target in Union for the past 4 years. Devon will be attending the Morris County Police Academy in July, and tonight with him is his mom, Sabrina, dad, Jeffrey, stepmom, Arlene, grandmother, and 2 sisters. Next up is Edmund Meekwe. Edmund is 25 years old and resides in Union with his family. He graduated from Union High School in 2016. After high school, he attended Monmouth University for a year and then transferred to Montclair State University and graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree in exercise science. Edmund has been working as a supervisor at Costco in Union for the past 7 years, and he will be attending the Morris County Police Academy in July. Tonight with him is his mom, Rebecca, brother, David, and his aunt, Christmas.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-159, which confirms the appointments?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Lucas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sacramento?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Gaddy will now issue the oath of office to the new appointments.
Just leave the family on this side, you guys on that side. You can come in. You guys can hold the Bible, put it in, raise your right hand.
I got hold of it.
Hold the Bible. Repeat after me, okay? I state your name,
I, Edmund Meekwe,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
of the Milburn Township Police Department,
of the Milburn Township Police Department,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's just in your hands, you guys can sign this, okay?
So much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sign this one too?
No, I'll take care of all
Okay,
that.
cool.
Thank you. Just sign. Thank you.
Just sign?
Yep.
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Best of luck.
And now my favorite time of year, the Police Department Awards presented by Chief Guilford.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight, we're gonna have our 2023 award ceremony. This year, we're gonna dedicate it to the Lyons family. As you know, we had a tragic loss for our department, and he was an integral friend, co-worker, and integral to our drone program. If you know anything about our drones, he's the one who got it started, and what a success that was. So we'll start with January. Officer Bufano, Jazuski, Dundon, and Griffin, if you come up. Officers were notified of a license plate reader scan at the mall of a stolen vehicle. Officer Bufano, Dundon, Griffin The Jazuski responded to the mall. The officers located the vehicle, conducted surveillance. Five individuals entered the vehicle and while attempting to escape, were surrounded by the officers on scene. 5 subjects were placed under arrest without any incident and were charged. Thank you. Officer Pafano, Detective Witchlands, Officer Cron, for Officer Lyons, is Yvette can come up? Patrol units were notified of a license plate scan, a stolen motor vehicle near White Oak Ridge Road. Detective Witchlands responded to the area and located the vehicle in the driveway of the residence. Detective Witchlands blocked the vehicle in, preventing her from escaping. The occupants of the vehicle quickly attempted to flee on foot. Detective Witchlands was able to immediately apprehend 2 of the subjects and place them under arrest. The drone unit, of course, operated by Officer Lyons, and then Officer Bufano arrived, and moments later pursued the 3rd subject on foot and was able to apprehend and place him under arrest with the assistance of Officer Cron and Frisch. With the assistance of Summit Police, the 4th subject was located and placed under arrest. Officer Nassim would come forward. After received a call of a suicidal male on a roof of a house, the man ran out onto the rooftop after having an argument with family members. Officer Nassim was talking to the male with no success to get him to come back inside. The male then started walking towards the edge of the roof when Officer Nassim reached out through the window and was able to pull the male back inside the home without any injury. The male was given the proper medical treatment. Officer Larkham, Officer Reed, and Sergeant Delgado. All units were notified of a license plate scan of a stolen motor vehicle near White Oak Ridge Road. Officer Larkham responded to the area and with the assistance of an unmarked Summit Patrol car, located the vehicle on White Oak Road near Great Hills Road. Pursuit ensued, to which Officer Larkham was granted authorization. Officer Reed was involved as a secondary unit, and the driver of the stolen vehicle eventually then crashed. The 3 subjects in the stolen vehicle then attempted to flee on foot, and after a short foot pursuit, Officer Larkham, with the assistance of Sergeant Delgado, placed 1 subject under arrest, and Officer Reed was able to apprehend the 2nd subject. Thank you. Sergeant DeRosa, Sergeant Barbosa. Patrol units were notified of a license plate reader scan of a stolen motor vehicle traveling north on White Oak Ridge Road. A short while later, Officer Kerwin located the stolen vehicle traveling south on Old Shore. Officer Kerwin was able to stop the stolen vehicle on Birch Lane near Adams. Officer Kerwin apprehended one subject after a brief foot pursuit. Detective Barbosa and Detective DeRosa arrived on scene moments later and took the remaining 3 subjects in the stolen vehicle into custody. All 4 subjects were charged. Thank you. Detective Witchlands. Patrol units responded to the residents on Fairfield Drive of a report of 3 subjects attempting to break into residence. It was also soon after the subject attempted to do the same to another residence in a vehicle parked next door on Fairfield Drive. Officer Bufano transmitted the subject's description to units responding to assist. Detective Witchlands, approximately an hour later, observed a car service in the area, which raised suspicions. Detective Witchlands stopped the vehicle and located 3 subjects in the back of the vehicle. All 3 subjects were the same subjects that were trying to break into the house and were placed under arrest. Sergeant DeRosa and Sergeant Royce. This is a January through March investigation. These 2 gentlemen used to be in our detective bureau. Through investigative means, including fingerprints and surveillance video, Detective Rosa and Royce were able to solve multiple crimes that occurred in the town from January to March, including a burglary on Marywood with stolen vehicles, a robbery that happened in the area of Milburn and Locust, and a theft of a vehicle on Milburn Ave. All 3 subjects were arrested and charged. Officer Racinos and Officer Nassim. Patrol units responded to the area of Rector Street on a report of a male wearing a hoodie and a vest attempting to gain entry into a motor vehicle. Officer Racinos and Nassim rapidly responded to the area and observed the male matching the description. Upon attempting to approach the male to stop him, he immediately fled on foot into nearby backyards. A pursuit was initiated and a perimeter was immediately set up. A short time later, the male was observed walking on Church Street, at which time officers Nassim and Racinos responded to the location and arrested and charged him. Officer Hunt Miles and Officer Mathers. Officers arrived on scene to the high school of a player not breathing on his own. Officers Kelly, Matos, Seabaum, and Hunt Miles stepped in and assisted the coaches that were helping the player and administering CPR. After multiple rounds of CPR, the player was transported to the hospital where he recovered. Thank you. Officer Kerwin and Officer Nakashian. Officer Nakashian's on the road. Patrol units responded to JFK Parkway in the area of the New Jersey American Water Company for a report of a disabled vehicle in which a number of its occupants were fleeing from. Livingston Police had just terminated pursuit of a stolen vehicle with the same description. The vehicle just prior had been observed by a caller and it was involved in an attempted burglary of a vehicle in Milburn. Officers on scene confirmed it was a stolen vehicle that eluded the Livingston police officer. Officer Kerwin and Nakashian were able to apprehend and arrest 2 of the subjects. All occupants of the stolen vehicle were arrested and charged. Officer Aliota, Officer Racinos, and Officer Nassim. This was part of a long postal investigation. During the month of May, a postal employee had been robbed of his keys, and subsequently, the township had multiple mail thefts from our local post office. Due to the investigative skills of Detective Mendelson and the assistant of postal inspectors and our own patrol officers, multiple undercover operations were conducted to arrest the robbery suspect and several criminals of the mail theft. Officer Kerwin, Officer Reed, and Officer Larkham. Officers were dispatched to the dialysis center on a patient not having a pulse. Officers arrived and they took over CPR for approximately 40 minutes, eventually regaining a pulse for the victim. The victim was then transported to the hospital. Sergeant DeRosa and Lieutenant Del Russo. Patrol and detective units respond to the area of Milburn Ave in Wyoming for a license plate reader hit of a stolen motor vehicle entering a jurisdiction from Vauxhall Road. Upon arrival to the area, Detective DeRosa located the stolen vehicle near Sagamore and Farview. Upon attempting to stop the vehicle, it fled. Brief motor vehicle pursuit was initiated where the car then turned down a dead end, subsequently hitting a curb and disabling the vehicle. 3 occupants then fled into the backyards. Patrol units then set up a perimeter of the area. A short time later, Detective DeRosa and Lieutenant Del Russo located one of the males hiding under the vehicle, taking him into custody without incident. Detective Mendelson also located one of the males and took him into custody without incident as well. Thank you. Detective Rebello and Sergeant DeRosa. Sergeant DeRosa and Detective Rebello received a license plate reader alert of a vehicle known to commit burglaries entering town. The vehicle was under investigation by the Essex County Sheriff's Office for motor vehicle burglaries in county parks. Sergeant DeRosa and Detective Rebello responded to South Mountain Reservation to search for the vehicle and located it in Locust Grove. Sergeant DeRosa and Detective Rebello in their undercover vehicle conducted a surveillance operation. The suspects attempted to commit a burglary into the vehicle that was parked in the area right at that point, and at which point they were apprehended and taken to custody by Detective Sergeant DeRosa and Detective Rebello, and the subjects were charged. Officer Griffin, Officer Jazuski, Officer Kerwin. Officer Griffin was on patrol at the Short Hills Mall when he heard a radio transmission by Ball Security of 3 suspicious individuals. Mall Security reported that they notified that the subjects had been looking into parked vehicles and attempting to enter them by pulling on the door handles. Officer Griffin and Officer Kerwin located the 3 subjects leaving the mall and were able to stop them. Officer Juice, who responded to assist, gathered further information and confirmed that the vehicle burglaries that the subjects had attempted. The subjects were all placed under arrest for attempted motor vehicle burglary, which led to the discovery of a loaded handgun tucked in the waistband of one of the subjects. 3 subjects were charged accordingly. Officer Kerwin, Officer Delakian. Officer Delakian responded to the area of White Oak Ridge Road on a report from the Florham Park Police of a stolen vehicle traveling through Milburn. Officer Kerwin located the vehicle, however, was unsuccessful in stopping it. Officer Kerwin continued in the direction of the vehicle, and the vehicle fled. To soon after become aware that the Summit Police were behind the vehicle on Route 24. Officer Kerwin continued in the direction of the vehicle that it was last seen, where he discovered it had been involved in a crash and overturned. Some police have begun to search for the occupants, to which Officer Kerwin assisted. Officer Kerwin located the 3 occupants of the vehicle fleeing eastbound on foot on the highway. Officer Kerwin was quickly able to apprehend one of the subjects and place him under arrest. Officer Delakian officers responded to the area to assist and located 2 of the subjects fleeing on foot. Officer Delakian pursued the subject on foot, ordering him to stop. After a short foot pursuit, Officer Delakian was able to apprehend one of the subjects and place him under arrest. Both subjects were turned over to the Summit Police Department. Sergeant Royce, Sergeant Barbosa, Officer Chupak. All units responded to the area of White Oak Ridge Road and Hobart Gap for report of a stolen motor vehicle out of Patterson in the area. While responding to the area, Officer Chupak observed the stolen vehicle near Parsons Hill Road and Joanna Way as it passed its location going the other direction. Officer Chupak immediately turned around and located the vehicle on Oak Lawn Road, stopped and now unoccupied. A further search of that area led to witness saying that he observed someone matching the description running in their backyard that yelled, "Don't call the police." A short time later, the suspect was loaded with the assistance of Livingston Police and was taken into custody without incident by Officer Chupak, Sergeant Royce, and Sergeant Barbosa. Sergeant Royce and Detective Salemi. Detective Royce responded to the Goddard School on a burglary into a vehicle. The suspect had broken into the victim's vehicle and stolen her handbag. Detective Royce, through investigation, determined that the suspect arrived in Milburn and stole a license plate from a parked vehicle before proceeding to commit the burglary. The victim began receiving alerts on her credit card being fraudulent used in the neighboring municipalities. Detective Royce and Detective Salemi conducted further investigations and were able to secure surveillance video of the suspect and learned of his presence at the Jersey Gardens Mall in Elizabeth. Sergeant Royce and Detective Salemi responded to Jersey Gardens Mall, located the vehicle, and arrested the suspect. Further investigations of the vehicle revealed evidence from numerous other thefts from victims in states up and down the eastern seaboard. The suspect, a resident of Georgia, was stolen property from victims of various states up and down Route 95 to be part of the felony lane gang. Officer Bafana. Summit PD have reported that they are in pursuit of a stolen vehicle that just committed a burglary in their town. The vehicle was then picked up by Officer Bafano in our town. Officer Bafano then continued the pursuit through Livingston and West Orange, where eventually the stolen vehicle crashed. Officer Bafano was able to secure all of the suspects until other officers from our town and other agencies arrived. Officer Bafano also had to render medical aid to one of the suspects who was trapped in the vehicle. Officer Kerwin, Officer Delakian, Officer Reed, Sergeant Royce, and Sergeant DeRosa. All units were notified of a license plate reader scan of a stolen vehicle near Milburn Avenue. Officer Kerwin located the vehicle on Lackawanna Place near Glen. and attempted to conduct a motor vehicle stop. Officer Reed Delakian, Sergeant Royce, and Sergeant DeRosa responded to assist. The vehicle failed to stop, however, was quickly surrounded by the responding patrol units and stopped. The occupants were removed from the vehicle and secured. Located in the vehicle was CDS, drug paraphernalia, and a loaded handgun. The driver was also found to have active warrants out of multiple jurisdictions. Officer Manuag, Officer Griffin, Officer O'Neill, and Officer Kerwin. Patrol units responded to the Cheesecake Factory and report of an unresponsive female with CPR in progress. Officer Manuag, Griffin, Kerwin, and O'Neill immediately responded to the scene. So Manuag and Griffin immediately began CPR on the patient, rotating compressions, while Officer O'Neill and Kerwin opened the airway and gave rescue breaths. Due to these officers' swift and collaborative response, the patient gained a pulse back on scene and was transported to the hospital and made a full recovery. Okay, last one. Officer Delakian. Units were notified of a license plate reader scan of a vehicle whose registered owner was wanted on a NCIC warrant for aggravated assault with a weapon. Officer Delakian responded to the area of JFK Parkway and located the vehicle on Parsons Hill Road. Officer Delakian conducted a motor vehicle stop and identified the driver as a subject with the outstanding warrant. As a result of the stop and subsequent arrest and search, Officer Delakian secured a loaded gun being improperly carried by the subject. The subject was charged accordingly.
Can we just congratulate all of our police department again, please? Special proclamation. Is Mr. George Williams here tonight? Is that Mr. Whereas the Milburn Township Committee values the contributions of members in our community and wants to recognize outstanding efforts that reflect the giving and thoughtful spirit of Milburn Township's finest. And whereas George Williams is one of those selfless and thoughtful members of our community who has demonstrated a sense of dedication to Milburn Township residents and works tirelessly to improve the quality of life of our citizens and others who he has touched by his thoughtful and caring nature. Whereas in early 2024, George Williams, a member of the maintenance team at Short Hills Terrace residence on Morris Turnpike, was aware that one of their elderly residents was not well, and when unable to reach the resident by phone, contacted the Milburn Township Police Department and requested a welfare check. And whereas the Milburn Police Department found the man unconscious on the floor and he was taken to the hospital in time to be all involved, that George Williams' heroic actions that day saved this man's life. That day saved this man's life. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Mayor Township Committee of the Township of Milburn, and on behalf of the township residents, on this 18th day of June 2024, recognize George Williams and extend our appreciation for his selfless act of compassion to our community members and for providing an inspiration to all. Take a 5-minute recess for those that don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. We could do the other one first. Okay, Committeeman Stoller, you're scheduled to present a proclamation?
This graphic. The chief, I think. That's all right.
Good. Whereas Parks and Recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the Township of Millburn. And, oh, there he is. Thought you left too. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who participate in recreation program. And whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages park recreation and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community and is an essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and now therefore be it resolved by a Township Committee of the Township of Millburn in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources and proclaims July as Park and Recreation Month in the Township of Millburn.
Thank you, Township Committee. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, our liaison, Mr. Stoller. Recently, our rec director, Chris Myers, was sworn in as State Recreation Commission President. Only the second Millburn director to receive such an honor, and the other one, George Bauer, has a building named after himself. So, on behalf of Mr. Myers, my fellow Commissioner Tara Krupis, the entire Tara Halpern, sorry, the entire Rec Commission and the Rec staff, I proudly accept this proclamation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Committeeman Cohen?
Okay. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch sponsors the National Community Building Campaign on Tuesday, August 6, 2024, entitled National Night Out, and whereas the National Night Out campaign provides an opportunity for neighbors in the Township of Millburn to join over 38 million neighbors across approximately 16,000 communities from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and military bases worldwide, and whereas National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderies to make our neighborhood safer, more caring places to live. And whereas neighbors in the Township of Millburn assist the Millburn Police Department through joint community building efforts and support National Night Out 2024. And whereas it is essential that all neighbors of the Township of Millburn come together with police and work together to build a safer, more caring community. And now therefore, Mayor Annette Romano hereby calls upon all neighbors of the Township of Millburn to join Millburn Police Department and National Association of Town Watch in support for National Night Out on Tuesday, August 6, 2024. Further, let it be resolved that Annette Romano hereby proclaims Tuesday, August 6, 2024 as National Night Out in Millburn, New Jersey.
Everybody come out August 6th. We'll be at Taylor Park again this year. We'll have a lot of stuff for the children, come meet our police officers, interact, and other agencies that are in our area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, reports. Provide reports, sorry, please provide reports on the committees that you are liaison to. I just want to talk about senior citizens really quickly. We have a new senior citizen coordinator, a new human services coordinator, I'm sorry, Corey Chirlanzio. She's taken the place for Anna Milan, who left at the end of May. Also, Ellie Prock, who was the chair on senior citizen, has stepped down as chair. She's going to remain on the committee. She has been on the Senior Citizen Advisory Board for 30 years. I don't think we have any other volunteer that we've had that long. And Trina Frankel will be the new chair. The summer programs are going to be starting at the library in July and August. And we have tentatively a date set for August 7th for the Essex County Health Mobile to come to the library between 11 and 1 in partnership with RW Barnabas Health. More details will come as we get closer. And I just also wanted in case you haven't heard, I received 3 award grant letters last week totaling $883,000 that's coming into the township. That's going to be going towards protective gear for the fire department, lights at Taylor Park, and the playground. So it's great news. I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware. And that was all my reports. Deputy Mayor?
Sure. So the Historic Preservation Commission passed a resolution to discommend the Marywood Nottingham District. So that officially ends the HBC nomination process for that district, and hopefully that will give some comfort to those in the neighborhood that opposed it. The planning board met and found all of the zoning ordinances that we have on for second read tonight to be not inconsistent with the master plan. They're also working on establishing formal bylaws as well. No updates for the Environmental Commission and the Zoning Code Advisory Committee did not meet between last meeting and that. That's it.
No reports. Committee start?
Sure. Okay, Recreation Committee, fall program registration is now open. Spots are filling up. Register through Community Pass. The pool will be starting full-time hours beginning this Friday, June 21st. And if this heat index is way up, they may even surprise everybody and do a Thursday, Friday special peak. So let's keep our fingers crossed. It's hot outside. Mr. Romano stole my thunder on Chris Myers being elected as president of the New Jersey Rec and Park Association for 24-25. And as he said, previous that was John Fox in 36 and Bauer in 48. Special Improvement District. Explorers monthly board meeting is on Thursday at 6:30 right here in this room. All interested residents, property owners, and business owners are invited to attend or in person or via Zoom. The Town Hall Plaza will be closed to traffic starting the weekend on June 29th, 30th. This is in lieu of closing Main Street. The team will be setting up gazebos, seating, and games over the weekend, and the official opening night is July 2nd. There's going to be a jazz band playing from 6:30 to 9:30 and a kickoff party for property owners and businesses catered by Jack's Surf and Turf from Upper Milburn Avenue. Huge kudos to Girls Night Out. It was at capacity. My wife and daughters went. I had a great time. And the last concert was at capacity. There is another concert on Thursday, this Thursday at 7 p.m. Working Man's Jed. That's a Grateful Dead tribute band will be performing. Affordable housing, Jared will be giving an update on that in a little bit later. BOE liaison, just 2 points from there. Due to the new measures put in place by the BOE board for access to AP classes, there was an incremental increase of 19% of people signing up for APs. So that's very positive. And then one other thing to watch that you're going to see in the newspaper is that the BOE and teachers did not come to agreement on salary negotiations, and it will be dormant during the summer. However, the teachers are pushing to work on it over the summer, so you might see some contentious actions there. Joint fields, no new updates. Emergency dispatch, we had a meeting today, nothing really to report. FEMAC, which is the Flood Mitigation Committee, West Orange bypass. Unfortunately, we did not get the $2.5 million of federal funding for the development, but we did get 1.5 million federal request, what was put forward for the Gilbert pump expansion. That will not impact our progress in developing the Orange bypass solution, however. And that's it.
Thank you. Community comment?
Sure, Deputy Mayor Sakamondi, excuse me, covered the planning board, the Board of Trustees at the library met actually last night and passed their budget for the next year following upon the township budget, and the major effort that will continue is plans for the renovation of the second floor. The Arch Arboretum also met last week. They do their reorg in June, unlike any of the other committees around here. They've elected 3 new trustees for next year and appointed 2 during the year. So the board has expanded, which should certainly help them with their fundraising.
Mr. Newcomb.
Thank you, Mayor, Committee. Just a couple announcements on tonight's agenda is the approval of the fireworks at the high school that take place on July 4th. Gates open at 7:30 p.m. The festivities start in the morning at 9 a.m. with the Patriots Award. And just in case people don't know, it's probably one of the best fireworks displays around, maybe only second to the Macy's in New York City, but they do a great job. So I hope everybody comes out. Just to piggyback on the Town Hall Plaza closure, which will take place very early in the morning on Saturday, the 29th. In addition, there will be some reshuffling of parking. For those individuals who have a 24-hour permit or a business permit that currently park in lot 6, which is a lot directly next to Town Hall and Town Hall Plaza, we are going to ask all of those that park there to park in lot 19, and the staff are going to utilize lot 6 to just avoid some confusion that will take place with that closure. Just some logistics there that will all be communicated to those permit holders as well. In addition, on Thursday, 6/20, the lot 9, which is the all-day commuter lot next to the library, will be closed to all-day parking. We're asking those resident permit holders or sticker holders to park on the 3rd level of the deck and pay at the pay station in the parking deck for one day only, just a minor inconvenience due to a large library event. I think it's a consortium of area libraries that'll be in attendance at our library. And so there's a lot of parking that is needed for that. Just an update on Fairfield Drive milling and paving. That is projected finally to take place on Wednesday, 6/26 through Friday, 6/28, weather permitting. So we'll get that project closed up. Lastly, I'm just going to ask if I can have 5 minutes in this report to have let me just give a little bit of history. Back in 2021, the Township Committee at that time passed an ordinance that the Township of Milburn would be a part of the Hunterdon Energy Aggregation Group, which is a energy consortium group that would bid out for energy supply to residents of Milburn Township. For 3 years, that had been unsuccessful due to the price of electricity. However, they recently had success in an auction, and I've invited Lisa Hibbs, who is, I believe, the director of that group, to come give a quick spiel about the community energy aggregation program and what that means, and sort of some timeline as it relates to that. Just so everyone is aware, this has been around for a long time in various communities where you have the ability to opt out of the program. In particular, in this particular, and I'm not stealing all of your thunder, I hope, Lisa, but in this particular example, residents will also have the ability to opt up to 100% renewable energy. And so Lisa's just going to explain very briefly some of the program details. Obviously, a whole bunch of information will be on the Township's website, as well as being mailed directly to residents. So Lisa, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you for all of the time on the phone over the past couple weeks here. So the Hunterdon Area Energy Cooperative started in 2017 with 3 towns. It is now 18 towns strong and spans 5 counties. Including Milburn Township here in Essex. Thank you, Alex, for the quick update. Yeah, the energy market was a little rough going there from 2021 to 2023. We did attempt auctions each year, and then finally, May 22nd of 2024, we were able to achieve a 5% savings for residents moving forward. So beginning with meter reads in September and continuing through November of 2025. So it's a 15-month term. The rate is flat for residents. We make it as easy as possible for residents that do not want to participate to opt out. There's also a permanent opt-out feature. So if they don't want to not only participate this time, but in future rounds for the Hunterdon Co-op, they can be put on a do not disturb list. Residents wishing to take advantage of that 100% renewable option, it is fractions of a penny higher than the basic renewable portfolio standard of 37.5%. There's still, it's a minimal savings, but it's there. But again, it's not costing residents much more than what they would pay through JCP&L to achieve that 100% renewable goal. So next steps, I just want to let everyone know, and Township Committee can rest assured that there is a robust outreach to residents in this regard, especially senior communities. I mean, they're targeted all the time with offers. So I'm working with Alex right now on the information kit. The information kits are all the same from the cover letter being the only difference. We can tweak that a little bit, and I did for Milburn since this is your first time through. So since this is Milburn's first experience with the process, just wanted to make you aware that the program's webpage is an amazing resource for accurate information for residents about the program. Sometimes Facebook kind of takes on a life of its own, and rumors start and things start to get out there that are not necessarily true. We will put a link on the township's website that will link to that information as well. That way, we're not burdening your staff with any updates along the way. Information kits will all be posted on that website. We'll record a video about the program. I will work with Alex and other team members to schedule some in-person outreach presentations here in Township since it is your first time through. We've done them at libraries, community centers, wherever it's most convenient for your residents to come out and hear about the program. There's a PowerPoint presentation that we give, and then we allow about half hour for questions and answers afterward. Again, anyone not wishing to participate in the program, there is an opt-out card in the mailer. They can opt out online. They can call a call center in Butler, New Jersey, that their only purpose is to take opt-outs. They can't answer questions about the program. They're not a hard sell. If a resident wants out, they're out. And then again, for the green option, the 100%, there is a card also in the mailer that residents can return, but they can also opt up on the website, and they can also call us to do that. Residents can also track their savings through the program, through the website. All they have to do is identify their account number, set up a password, and they can track their savings through the program for the entire 15 months. I can also provide the township with a similar access code that you can see the aggregate savings. You won't be able to see individual, but you'll be able to see how the program is tracking and performing for your residents throughout that 15-month term. I can also pull those reports for you. Anyone that we receive return mail for is automatically opted out. They did not have a chance to make an informed decision, so they are not included. Doesn't mean they can't opt in, just means that we won't include them. There's an initial 30-day opt-out period. The letters are going to be mailed July 15th. They should be hitting residents' mailboxes. So we want to have those outreach meetings the 18th through possibly August 13th to give people the amount of time that they need to make an informed decision. If for some reason a resident misses that 30-day opt-out window, it doesn't mean they can't opt out of the program. They can opt in or out of this program as many times as they want to during that 15-month term with no fees or penalties ever. I think that covers it.
Just to piggyback on that a little bit. So back in 2021, when this had originally been established by the Township Committee, we had put information on our website. While that information has been up there since. It probably needs some refreshing. But there was a list of frequently asked questions and various information about the program. We will update that as well as make sure that there's currently a link to the energy aggregation cooperative, but we'll make sure that everything is updated on that website for the residents as well. We'll set up these public information sessions with the group and make sure that this is I know it's the summertime and I know that it's going to be difficult for some people because they're not around a whole lot, which is why, one of my first questions to Lisa was whether they can opt out at any time. They get back from summer and are able to opt out once school starts. I think that's all part of this process. So.
Thank you. And I did fail to mention one important piece. After that 30-day opt-out period, we let the supplier for the program, IDT Energy, know which accounts are going to be enrolled in the program and at which level, whether it be the standard or the green option. They then notify JCP&L of which accounts are to be switched over to the supplier for the program from the Utilities Basic Generation Service. JCP&L will send a confirmation letter to every resident whose account is going to be switched over to the program, giving them another bite at the apple to opt out. The letter specifically says, hey, if this is a mistake, just let us know. They can opt out through JCP&L as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Cantor?
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you. So just a brief update from where we were last time on affordable housing. I think last meeting I gave a pretty detailed update that the special master recommended to the court that the court continue with the original 9 Main Street project. Since that report was filed, the township requested the opportunity to file a rebuttal with the court. The court granted that request and allowed all parties to file a rebuttal. Our rebuttal will be filed on or before July 20th. Once it's filed, June 20th, once it's filed, I presume it'll be an openable document and, it'll be accessible to the public, also on the court's website. Last time I was here, there was some uncertainty as to when the hearing was going to be held. The court rescheduled the hearing for July 3rd at 10:30. It'll be in person. That hearing is open to the public. Obviously, there's no public participation, but that hearing will be open to the public. Other than that, I have no further update to the public on affordable housing, but if the committee or mayor have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public comment. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern and clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and/or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and are readily available to the public. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option. If you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. If you are attending by computer or electronic device, please click the raise hand button and be sure your video is on when you comment. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put in the queue to address the committee. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there is 30 seconds remaining. A reminder that this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter, and this is a time during our business meeting for the public to offer comments. I will now open the public comment period.
First.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld. I live in the poet section. Prior to this meeting, as my custom, I sent a various list of heads up questions and comments that were not really responded yet. The first one is, I'm very happy that we have 2 new officers going to the academy, but after their appointment, how many officers will we have as part of our system? And when will they actually graduate the academy and come online? And also, I'm still waiting for like the paramilitary chain of command organization we posted as to the police. As to the bill list, with all due respect to Mr. Cantor, who reviews his time summaries? No, his firm, many more than 1 person or 2 people, 3 people, 4 people attend hearings and meetings. Are we paying for that excess people? If you look at the bill list, as to 3 entries, there's no description. In the past, they would say like Bear Properties litigation or some other litigation as to the breakouts. Why is to this bill list was there no more descriptions? And since October 2021, when he was retained in the fair share housing matter, how much have we paid his firm for that type of work? Who authorized and approved the township's Bear Properties SIR reply that was filed? As to the audit, there's a payment for the audit. When will the audit be finished and posted for the public? This is the calendar year 2023. There's a reference to Venice A. Hagen Breslin, and they did services regarding 22 East Willow Street. What services do they perform? What type of services? There's also today to authorize going out for bid for lot 14. The first time we had discussions, there was a public forum as to lot 14 as to changes and proposals. I mean, I attended a couple public forums. I met with the engineer. I think various other people have. Those changes have never been shared with the public. And then we're trying to figure out what those bid specs are. As to the Paper Mill Playhouse, what's the status of the acquisition lot ordinance? And I would invite the public to watch last night's beginning of the zoning board meeting about the discussion that's starting. It'll be continued later in August as to the paper mill, because there was information disclosed last night that sort of contradicted what was told to this body and to the public about the expansion of the carriage house. That's going to be from 60 to 120 more tables. How does that impact what was told to us? And also, they did break out the use of the other proceeds. I'll see you later.
And
Hi, Jay Morelli, resident. I'd like to start by just thanking all the committee members for your service to the community. Since the last TC meeting, some people have asked me why I am supporting a charter study commission. So I thought I would explain. And if I get anything wrong, Mr. Cantor, Mr. McDonald, please correct me. A charter commission is an elected board that examines the current form of municipal government and researches alternative forms that might better suit the community's needs. Well, what difference does the form of government make? Well, in New Jersey, there are 12 different forms of municipal government. Milburn operates under a township form with an elected township committee of 5 people, which appoints a mayor and a township administrator. Milburn holds partisan elections every June and November. Summit, another example, has a city form of government. Summit has an elected mayor responsible for executive functions and a council for legislative functions. Madison uses a borough form of government. South Orange is a village and operates under a special charter. Chatham has a borough and a township with their own mayors and councils. The form of government defines the structures and rules a municipal government operates under. The township form was one of 8 different forms of municipal government in New Jersey until 1950, when the state legislature passed the Faulkner Act, which created 4 new forms of government, which provided citizens with more say in how their town government is run. These new form of government came with new rights for citizens, such as the ability to directly petition the government to add questions to the ballot. Some of the new forms of government also include an option for partisan or nonpartisan elections. Nonpartisan elections eliminate the June municipal primaries, and all candidates appear in the general election without a party designation, just like our Board of Ed elections. Most nonpartisan elections in New Jersey today happen in the general election in November. At the same time, state and federal elections occur. That brings us back to the charter study commissions. There are two ways to change the form of government, but the Charter Commission is the more common and open approach. It starts with the TC passing an ordinance by simple majority to add a question to the ballot, asking citizens if they want the Charter Commission to be formed. And if the voters approve, the commission is typically formed with members elected at the same time. This occurs as part of the general election. I'll finish up in my second 3 minutes.
Phil Kirsch, Melbourne resident. I just had a question about the energy program. I thought I remember from 2021, we have solar panels. And I think I remember that's an automatic opt-out, so we don't do anything. Okay,
You should get the mailer. If you get the mailer.
okay. Sounds like a good program, but we just, have our own.
Yeah, we'll interfere with your credits for sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, Diane Eglow. First of all, I'm in support of the TC, looking into a charter study and looking at the benefits of the town being nonpartisan. Mr. Cohn, you mentioned last week that you might have 10 people running. Well, so be it. The Board of Ed has more people running than they have seats. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Mr. Cosgrove, sorry to call you out by name, it would be the Democratic TC candidate. You were one of the strongest opponents to the Silverman project by the Short Hills train station on Chatham Road, which is in your neighborhood. I wonder if we could do calculate a township tax revenue loss by not having that built, by losing Summit Medical Group as a tenant and the residents that could have been moved in years ago. We can't have TC members just up there to protect their own neighborhood, as we've seen in the past. Also, I believe the TC should continue to fight to stop the Main Street project. It's already impossible to get down Old Short Hills Road and Glen Avenue. A building there with one egress and ingress is just, I don't know, stupid. And all the other reasons why that's a terrible project. And I would be in favor of you fighting it no matter what it costs the taxpayers, my tax money too. I'd like to make a suggestion, the mayor's message on Friday, it's lovely how you all rotate. I think you should put the link to the Tuesday night meeting because a lot of people get that message and they would get a direct link to this meeting and they would be maybe more involved, more informed. I want to know about the triangle on Locust and Milburn Avenue. If the DPW can somehow look at that, there's all weeds there. For some reason, there's no flowers. Alex, the status of the pedestrian crosswalk at Ivy Terrace and Ridgewood. Also, I did speak to Christine, I can't remember the officer who does the traffic. He was gonna reach out to Essex County about having the traffic lights have, beeping and speaking. And I also wanna say it's really important for Wyoming Avenue and Milburn Avenue. I've walked there with my friends. You just stand there, you wait for the little white hand, it never comes. You can't cross that corner. It's unsafe, as is Milburn and Main Street. I think that would be a really nice thing to do for the town. And also I would want to bring again, where are all the trees? There are no trees on Milburn Avenue. There are no trees on Essex Street. Where are the trees? We're a tree city. We have no trees. Is this the end? Because also when we talking about redoing the park, didn't the Short Hills Beautification League have all these trees that they were going to donate? What happened to the trees from the Short Hills Beautification? They had a grant for, was it 18 trees? They're not in Taylor Park. They're not on Milburn Avenue. So I really think you go to Madison, you go to Chatham, you go to all these towns, their landscape is shaded. It's really a benefit to have trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Jerry Kung, Short Hills resident. I have some deep concerns regarding the $7 million that this committee has chosen to allocate to the paper mill renovation. I've spoken before about how I disagree with this handout, but if the committee insists on going down this path, there must be more oversight. The way this project is currently being managed raises significant red flags. In January, when Executive Director Stotts made the $7.5 million ask at this podium, he stated that the goal was to raise $40 million. However, at the zoning board yesterday, he testified that it is, quote, now a $43 million project. Within just 5 months' time and no ground being broken, the costs of the project have now somehow increased by almost 10%. This increase is alarming. We have no visibility into why $3 million were tacked onto the project cost. If there are further cost overruns, or if the paper mill fails to meet its ambitious fundraising goal, will they be coming back to the township asking for another handout? Records retrieved via Oprah suggest that they probably will. After all, Mr. Stotts has a history of nickel and diming the township. For instance, on April 12th, in an email exchange between Mr. Stotts and Business Administrator McDonald, they write, Alex, Rick Skolnick has calculated the fees due with filing the land use application package. Should we include these at this time or delete altogether? Will Eileen accept the package without the fees? Mr. McDonald responded, Mike, what was the dollar amount for the fees? I will speak with Eileen. I think Paper Mill would still need to post escrow for the application. Thanks. Mr. Stotts replied that the application fee was $7,835 and the escrow was $8,797. Mr. McDonald, could you please confirm that all fees and escrow were collected as part of the filing of this application? On March 15th, Mr. Stotts emailed Mr. McDonald. Hey, Alex, on a completely different topic, do you think the township might support the Paper Mill Gala by purchasing a $15,000 table to our gala on May 10th? It would be great to have members of the township committee in attendance given everything we are going through right now. On January 11th, Mr. Stotts emailed Mr. McDonald. For some reason, we overpaid the 2019 base rent by $2,922. The parasitic leaching doesn't just end there. Even though the paper mill received more than $4.8 million of shuttered venue operators grants in 2022, as far as I'm aware, the township has not received a single penny of the $341,000 of rent abatement provided during COVID. We currently have no guarantees that taxpayer monies will be used effectively or efficiently. Given that the paper mill is still at least $10 million short of their goal, there is also a very real risk that they fail to meet their fundraising goal independently. Will they come back and ask us for it when that happens? I urge this committee to demand a detailed, itemized budget and to implement strict oversight mechanisms to ensure that further financial burdens do not fall back on our community due to poor planning and lack of accountability. Thank you.
Anyone else before we go online?
Hi, Jean Pasternak, resident. I want to start off by saying congratulations to all the newly elected Democratic and Republican district leaders who form the municipal county committees that are required by the state. Those fulfilling these roles are charged with being liaisons to voters and neighbors in their voting districts. I urge our residents to learn who their district leaders are and let them know your concerns so these can be considered in the selection process of candidates who are put forward by these committees to run for township committee, at least until we choose as a community to go nonpartisan. A new app was introduced by the Essex County Clerk Durkin for voters. It looks interesting. It's to give and get information regarding elections, I gather. On behalf of Millburn voters, can our clerk and Mr. McDonald verify how the personal information given as part of this app, downloading this app and using it, will be used and stored for our voters? Lastly, about the paper mill giveaway. I didn't hear what Jerry was going to say, but I completely agree. It just doesn't make sense, and it's all been said over and over by dozens of residents. You guys have a reason now to think and act to stop this enormous taxpayer dollar giveaway. We've been hit hard by the special master about 9 Main Street. We definitely should fight back. I'm totally in agreement with that. It's definitely worth it. We will be spending unfathomable amounts for that and our taxpayer dollars just trying to keep up with our already overwhelmed infrastructure with hundreds of new residential units and businesses coming on stream now, today, and many more in the future. We should redirect that money to our town's critical needs. The $43 million vanity project is not for Millburn taxpayers. It's a handout to Mr. Stotts and the Paper Mill Board of Trustees. Those trustees include a former Millburn mayor, Ted Burke, who no longer lives in town and was the architect of the unpopular and unwound Complete Streets mess. And Mr. Mound, also a former TC member, another architect of Complete Streets. And because of that debacle that they caused, it resulted in them being voted off the TC. And some of you here, right, Tara? It is their responsibility as a board to raise those monies for this nonprofit. It is not appropriate that Millburn taxpayers are pressured, our TC is pressured to take from Millburn taxpayers and justify this grab with a profoundly flawed consultant study using data from Phoenix, Arizona to make their phony case. You are all misled, and it's your fiduciary duty to reconsider and reverse course now that you're aware of the facts presented by various residents, including Dr. Kung. Don't let the paper mill strong arm our township committee and Mr. McDonald into going ahead with this inappropriate taxpayer giveaway. Thank you.
We can go online. Good evening.
Good evening, Perry Urso, Upper Milburn Avenue. I have a couple questions about your resolution 24-165. Considering that some of my properties are surrounding lot 14, why have we not received any update prior to this consideration this evening? Therefore, will the changes to the original shared plans for lot 14 bid specs be shared with the public who have attended the prior lot 14 public forums and who have also met with the township engineers? Additionally, when does the original capital of $400,000+ bond appropriation lapse? And why does lot 14 not provide 15 minutes free public parking like other parking lot and areas throughout the municipality? And feel free to correct me if I am wrong on that, but I'm just talking about for patron parking. Also, why are we rejecting Judge Moore's recommendation to mediate and not litigate? And I hate to continually repeat myself, but I'd like to ask, who is making these decisions and where are these decisions being made? And lastly, after all of these years, why do you keep dismissing out of hand Mr. Attorney Feld's comments and leave his questions unanswered? Thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you. Okay, I will now close the public comment. Does anyone from the committee have any comments?
I do.
Committee
I'd like
Mr.
to address.
No comments. No, Committee comment?
I'd like to answer Ms. Elo. The difference between the Board of Education and Township Committee is the Board of Education has 3 seats up at every time. Township Committee can have as little as 1. So if you have 9 people running, that's still 9 people for 3 seats. That's more of a mandate that you could certainly end up with 9 people running for 1 seat. I know Dr. Kung suggested ranked choice voting, and I think that's very interesting, although not a tried and true method. I know it's used in the New York City mayor's race. I think that's something that is in its early stages. I think it's pretty complicated, and I don't think the average person understands the impact of that. I'm sure you do, because you're very involved with this, but I doubt that that's true for the public in general, but that is something that I know is going on. Another thing I heard from one of the residents was, well, we could just have a runoff amongst the top two winners. Well, that's kind of what we have now. That we have primaries, and from the 2 parties, the top 2 of each of those parties ends up in the general election. So that's the runoff. That's what I have to say.
That's not true. That's not true.
Excuse me.
You picked the people.
Sure.
Anybody can run in the election.
So Ms. Iglo, the Silverman project, it's my understanding, and then I'll let Mr. McDonald correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that it's really up to the developer at this point when they start that project. And once that project is completed, I would imagine the building would be assessed and it would start bringing in more tax revenue. But it's not up to the township to decide when the developer goes and starts the construction of that project. We are going along with it in terms of, I believe it's been given approval by the planning board. And we had it as part of the settlement agreement. So just understand, it's not the township that's holding that up in any way, it's the individual developer. Let's see, as far as the trees on Milburn Avenue, I did happen to notice driving, from where the high school is into town towards Town Hall, there are actually some trees in the sidewalks in front of the new Wells Fargo building. And it seems like, they go down a little ways. So it would certainly be interesting to find out if there's some sort of engineering challenge that would prevent us from having more trees. I would imagine that certain types of trees, their roots would get under the pavement and that could cause problems. But it's certainly something that I'd like to get more information on. Dr. Kung, the paper mill project, I've strongly objected to the TC moving forward with that. I agree, if the TC is going to continue to move forward with that, I think there needs to be some oversight. This is a very complicated and expensive project, and it actually involves town-owned property. We're sort of in a unique situation where the lessee is gonna be making improvements to the town-owned property. And I do think it would be important for the township to keep tabs on that. And, you know, I just don't think that the paper mill board really has the experience to know whether the bids they're getting are accurate, if cost overruns are correct. I also do have concerns that they may start to demolish the facade of the building and then all of a sudden run out of money. And then what happens when there's no facade on the building and they come to us and say, well, we can't afford to finish it. What do we do now? They don't have any collateral because they don't own the building. So what are they gonna do? So I'd love to know from Mr. McDonald if there's any provisions to deal with a situation like that. And, you know, I would also think that because it is town-owned property, we should have involvement from our planner. And you know, Mr. McDonald, is our planner involved in that in any way? Those Oprah emails are very interesting and concerning. It seems like they certainly got the consultant to paint a rosy picture of its economic impact. And I think that given this new information, the members of this committee should really take a deep look at all of the new information that's come to light and reassess whether this is something we should still move forward with. And as Dr. Kung, as Ms. Pasternak actually pointed out, we're gonna have a lot of upcoming expenses. You know, regardless of how this situation with the dump turns out, there's gonna be some sort of affordable housing development that the town is sponsoring. And that's gonna be expensive. We need to replace town hall. It's falling apart. We have a lot of other expenses coming up, and I think in light of those, we should really reassess whether the paper mill is something that the town should be investing in. Ms. Urso, with regards to the bid, Mr. McDonald, could you answer whether the bid documents will be available to the public? That would be good to know. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
I have no. Mr. McDonald?
Just real quickly to answer at least one of the questions regarding the audit. We go through this every year. We have an audit every year, and first and foremost, the audit has to be returned to the Township Committee for their acceptance and approval, and then it'll be available to the public. That generally happens in August, so I think you can keep an eye out for it then. In terms of Ms. Eglow's question about the trees, one of the things that we are considering, because I mean, I know that Milburn Avenue and Essex Street maybe don't have enough trees, but I can tell you for sure that Upper Milburn Avenue does not have enough trees. And so it's an area that we're looking at, and whether there's appetite from those individuals up there, as well as what is feasible within that area to add some additional trees or plantings or whatever it might be in terms of beautification in that area. We are fortunate that we have a licensed arborist on staff, and so with regard to concerns about trees that have root systems and are, you know, have the ability to plant it in the street, we can continue to look into that. But that is something that we also are hoping to address in other people's improvements to their properties, or whether it's development, like Deputy Mayor Sacramento stated with the Wells Fargo or the Hearth building, they planted quite a bit of trees in and around that property. So certainly on the forefront of our mind as well. Yeah, I mean, right, and if I remember correctly, during Complete Streets, they planted 72 street trees. A lot of concern goes into where they're planted, whether they're, you know, you have to find the space in between buildings, and nobody wants them necessarily in front of their storefront, if it blocks signage or things like that, as well as
all of the other things that are underground that impact where you can plant trees. So there, I wish it were as simple as just, plopping them in the ground and putting them in there, but yes, we can, certainly those existing tree pits that we don't have trees in, or that have been cut down, or if there are additional areas that we can, I think, yes.
Great.
I will have DPW take a look at the triangle and see what's going on with that. I know that's something that's usually been handled in terms of bulb planting by other groups, but we'll take a look at that. In terms of Dr. Kung's comments, I'll have to look into exactly the fees that were paid, and I will get back to you and or the committee on that in terms of the paper mill. I think that with regard to just general comments, and certainly where the committee wants to go with it is fine, but has been outlined what the township's contribution is paying for. One of those things is the facade, because that is something that the Historic Preservation Commission wanted to see done. It is something that the township wants to see done, and we think that is very important to that. So there are very specific things that the township had allocated those funds for. In particular, the first part is the purchase of 20 Brookside, which we anticipate having on the township committee's agenda on July 16th.
Quick question, Alex, while you're still on that topic. So that money would be for the facade of the carriage house, correct? Not the facade of that they're gonna build the grass atrium on?
Yes, sorry, yeah, that is the historical facade, correct.
Okay.
And in terms of oversight, first and foremost, I think certainly we've been meeting on anything that the township is involved in. But I can inquire with the board to be placed on the facilities review committee and whatever committee is handling the improvements, to add some additional oversight. And will certainly, can help sort of facilitate some back and forth between our planner and the paper mill. I think those are all fine suggestions, but I think it's also been clear that part of the expansion also of the carriage house, that was never not discussed. It was part of the plan. You could see it on the plan. They were adding a second level to the carriage house. Part of that is the reason for that is some of the asks that were provided to the paper mill with regard to additional seating at the restaurant to expand the revenue source of that, as well as speaker series and other events that would be held at the paper mill following the improvements. So that has never been sort of kept a secret.
All right, Alex, so in place is the strict, and I completely agree, there needs to be strict monitoring of how the money's spent and that it's spent appropriately on the things that we have. Now, I also agree with Frank and Frank's husband, Dr. Kung, that we should maybe investigate the HBC and understand what they did say to the Paper Mill Playhouse about that facade, as well as what they've talked to the Short Hills Village, and get some clarity of what's being discussed between HBC and some of these resident projects. So maybe we should take that up as well.
Yeah, I was certainly involved in the conversations with the paper mill, and so it was very clear what the desire of everyone in that situation was, and so that is why it was part of our portion.
Preserve the facade.
It is to preserve the facade and make sure that the postcard image of the paper mill is visible and the first thing that you see driving up Brookside Drive toward the theater. Ms. Pasternak certainly will look into the app and understand what information is kept there. I'm not particularly familiar with it at this point, and we will share the bid specs with the Lot 14 concerned individuals. Once we put them on the website, they're available and operable, but and I don't believe much has changed from those specs. Remember, we just held off as a result of timing. I think not much has changed about those specs, but there may be one change that we can certainly share with Ms. Urso and others that may be concerned. So.
Thank you, Mayor. There were a lot of comments regarding changing the form of government and charter commission the appointment of a charter commission. That's on later in the agenda, so I'll reserve comment on that until at the appropriate time in the agenda. Unless the committee has any questions, we have no further comment. So that's what the public said.
Thank you.
The Township Committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to any listed items on the consent agenda? May I have a motion to approve resolution 24-160 through resolution 24-168, which are listed on the consent agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes. Committeeman Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2675-24.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2675-24, capital ordinance for the Township of Milburn and the County of Essex, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public improvements and acquisitions in by and for the township, appropriating therefore the sum of $1,712,000 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township and from the township's capital reserve for police and capital reserve for DPW. Tonight is the time set for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that the public hearing be closed and that the ordinance be adopted on final reading and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes. Committeeman Stoll, you're scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2676-24.
Thank you. I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2676-24, ordinance creating a temporary open container area. Tonight is the time for the public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading and the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy, you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2677-24.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance 2677-24, establish citizen advisory committee on affordable housing. Tonight is the time set for public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Curtis?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sakamandy?
Yes.
Mr. Stoller?
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, old business, the charter commissions, charter study commission. Mr. Cantor.
So I know, I wasn't here, but I know there was some questions regarding the Charter Study Commission and to adopt a new form of government. So one method to adopt a new form of government is to elect a charter commission. That process would require an ordinance by this committee authorizing a ballot question as to whether or not a charter commission should be established. And additionally, on that ballot, you could list commissioners to be elected. There's 5 commissioners. They're elected at the election. That election can take place simultaneously. Obviously, if the commission question is rejected, then any votes toward those commissioners, wouldn't matter.
We could also, you said could, so does that mean that we could put it up as a question without the actual commissioners on that ballot?
You could, then obviously you would then need another election to elect your commissioners, and then I'll go through it, but adopting the commission's recommendation also takes it's also a ballot referendum. So then you would need a third election to actually complete the study. once, and if the ballot measure were to fail, if you were to put a commission on the ballot and were to fail, you wouldn't be allowed to do it again for another 4 years. So there's a 4-year time period where you wouldn't be allowed to do that. I can go through some more of the stuff. Once the commission organizes itself, it will set rules. They have to hold at least one public hearing to solicit information from the public. They can hold private hearings about forms of government. And they arrive to they'll arrive as a decision as to which form of government. It has to be a Faulkner Act form of government. There's 4 that they can choose from. They should first analyze the current form of government to understand its benefits and shortcomings. And they're encouraged to obviously talk to this governing body and others as to the benefits of that. They'll issue a report. Once they make a decision, it goes on the ballot. This committee would not have to accept or reject the report. The report would then be on the ballot, and the public would get an opportunity to vote on whether or not to change the form of government. I can get into more detail, but
Is
once,
that vote binding?
yes.
And Jared, while you were out last meeting, there was some discussion whether it takes 3 the township committee members to pass it or 4. Do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah, it's 3 members.
It's 3 members.
3 members. The supermajority is required if you're a Faulkner Act of government. It was a new law that was passed within the last maybe 3-4 years. If you're a Faulkner Act of government, there is no nonpartisan township form of government. So if you have a Faulkner Act of government, which allows for partisan and nonpartisan, you can change from partisan to nonpartisan by a supermajority. But no, it will require a simple majority ordinance.
What's the process for somebody running to be on that charter commission? Is it any citizens self-nominate themselves, get petition signatures? Could you describe that process?
That's one thing I'm not sure of, but I presume it's like any other official who wants to run for that spot. You can put petitions in. That's my understanding, but I don't know. Let me follow up with you. I don't want to guess.
Who has oversight of that commission, of that group of
So
people?
they'll elect the chairman within, I think, 15 days. They have to organize and elect the chairman.
And
It'll be independent of this committee.
how long does it take how long do they have to get a report? Or how long does that process take?
It's recommended that it's done in 3.5 months or 4 months, but in my experience, it's taken much longer to come up with the report and to get it on the ballot.
Do you think people are on this commission?
5.
And the elections, are they part of a general election or are they special elections?
They could be part of the next election, so general election.
But all 3 elections that you mentioned, or 2, I guess, but 2 or 3 depending on if we
It'd
include
be
the
like 2
commissioners.
generals.
Yeah.
You would have one to see if it got started, and then another to see
So that'd be
if
the
a
following
change would
year.
take place.
Yes,
That would be the following year.
if they issue the report in time. There's time constraints around it.
So Jared, if we vote on this, what's the cutoff for getting it on this year's ballot? And if we go after that cutoff, is it then automatically on next year's ballot?
Yeah, so we looked at it. If you were to adopt it on your August meeting, it would be in time for the November ballot. It's 75 days, and that puts you a few days past your August meeting.
So.
In July will be
You said
introduced.
it,
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
So if we wait until November, let's say, it'll be on the following year's ballot, correct?
Right, and I want to make sure it's not too early, but right. And I also am not sure if it could be done in the primary election. I would have to look at that also.
But it would be on the.
For the following year's
the
general
general.
election would be
So
fine.
meaning like if we voted for it on this committee
Right.
and we voted to have it done for the general 2025 election, this committee's standing vote holds for 2025.
That I'm not sure of. I don't know that ordinance cannot be repealed next year by another governing body. I wouldn't know. I'd have to do the procedure, but I mean, until it's on the ballot, I presume. And I think any governing body can repeal any act that it's taken. So I would think that you could repeal that ordinance before it takes effect.
Right, can we look into that? Because my concern
That would be,
is-
I mean, I think actually, now I'm just talking it out. I mean, that if we were to pass an ordinance today that said, let's put it on 2025 and a later ordinance before it got on the ballot came into place, I would say that it would supersede that ordinance.
So my concern is that at this point, it's already June. Given that the town entity's out over the summer, I just feel that it would be it would be sort of a little bit irresponsible to try and push this through for this year's ballot, simply because you're gonna need time for people to run as commissioners. You're also gonna need time for the public to get educated, because if this fails, you can't do it again. You can't try it again in 4 years.
Are you gonna educate the public?
Well, that'll be the people that are
Well,
running to be on
yeah,
the commission, they'll
but
have to
To
do that.
that point, Frank, you know, we had 65% of the town saying that they want it, so I don't know why you're turning your back on that. If 65% of the town want it, and we want to press it forward, we don't need to really worry about the commissioners at this point. It's whether we just get it on the ballot. I mean, if we want to create a more inclusive, transparent, and effective system of governance that prioritizes the best interest of all residents, why would we not accelerate it? We could probably vote tonight procedurally to get it moving and get everything going. Is that correct?
We can get a first read.
I would take this committee's, I don't have a say, and I would take this committee's direction if I was asked to draft an ordinance for introduction for the next meeting, but it's up to this committee what legislation gets put up to vote.
I mean, I would like to vote for it right now and get you going. I mean, honestly, if you want.
I'm not prepared to vote on it tonight then, so.
It's never gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Completely
Okay,
like,
let's take
no,
this,
it's never
let's
gonna
take this
happen.
offline.
Excuse me,
That's all you need
More
to
information before we vote on it.
I
We're
would,
just having a first read for July. Can you just let us have a first read for July? You can vote no then.
Let's,
Well-
let's see the ordinance, let's
I-
find out if there's a way that we
If-
can do this to be binding for
There's
next
not.
year's.
There's
budget.
no
No,
way
it
to do
isn't.
it.
if we're going to include the commission itself on the ballot, then I think we need a little bit more information on how those people run and what their deadline is and their petitions, et cetera. But if we're just doing the commission,
Just the commission, let's
fine.
keep the ball rolling.
That I'd
We
be
ran
fine.
on that as the main pillar of our campaign.
Great.
that
I
I'd be
think we-
fine with, without
Just the
the,
commission.
without the
Keep it moving.
commissioners.
Great, you can have the commissioners in the
Yeah.
primary.
So you can't.
Yes, you
could-
can.
If you're not a registered party member, you can't vote. What? In the primary, right? If you're an unaffiliated voter, you're not allowed to vote in the
You would have to
primary.
elect the commissioners in the fall 2025.
Right, you have to wait till then, that's right.
Well, at least you've got one
Then
piece
you know
done.
it's gone,
One
then you know it's
piece
gone.
is-
Great, that's 3 people.
One piece. is
Jared
done.
got some marching orders.
Well, no, it's the ordinance just to put the question
Just
on
to
the
put the
ballot.
question on
Yes,
it.
to
Do you
put
want
that
to
question on
draft
the
it?
ballot.
But Mayor,
Jared
say once it's
prepared
on the
ordinance.
ballot, if it passes, then we're gonna have, then commissioners are gonna be allowed to run as a matter of right and law, and then wherever they decide, they decide. They should have a chief
It's
executive.
insane.
If you say it's not, you can't do it.
Let's just start the process.
Great, we'll start the
So we'll
process.
start the process. Should we vote on it?
Yeah.
Let's get everybody on record.
We need to vote on it.
Let's go.
No, I mean,
We just haven't
We have the consensus, who's the
I
consensus?
counted 3, I counted
Who were the
3
three?
to draft
Yeah, we're
the
good, we're
introduction.
good.
I have the mayor, I have committeewoman Rupert, and committeeman Stoll.
So Frank's not voting.
No, I'm saying go, Jared should go ahead and draft
Okay,
the
so
ordinance.
before-
We'll take
before
a
draft.
look
Okay, just wanna make sure we're right.
No, but it's gonna be for.
What about Michael?
No, but listen, guys, just for the committee's purpose, just because you're authorizing me to draft an ordinance to review doesn't commit you to vote yes on it when it's up for introduction.
There we go. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, new business, canvassers and solicitors regulations.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring this to the committee's attention. There has been some consternation from the public in terms of this allowance. And I think there are some changes that can be made to the ordinance. However, there are a lot of difficulties with canvassers and solicitors ordinance constitutionally. And this has been litigated far and wide throughout the United States. And we actually made a wholesale change to our ordinance a few years back. But I think at this point in time, there are some changes that I'd like to consider or have the Township Committee consider. In particular, the fee, increasing the fee to at least $50 per applicant. So per person, per application fee. Shortening the time that the permit is valid from 1 year to 6 months, at least 6 months. And there are other changes that could be done just to further solidify
the establishment, like having those applicants check off that they've received and read the no knock list. The no knock list is pretty much our line of defense when it comes to door-to-door solicitation. And for those residents that are not aware, there is a no knock list that you can sign up for, so that conceivably solicitors should not be knocking on your door and should be following that list. If you're on the no knock list, then you have the ability to call the police department to issue citation to somebody who knocked on your door. That's where Ring doorbells come in very handy. But I think it's time to make some changes to the ordinance just to continue to up the fees and limit the time and make sure that, because what happens, what we've heard this year is all of a sudden a canvasser may have gotten a permit at the end of August and then they come back in June and people will say, well, you know, how can you still have a license to solicit and they still have a valid license because it's available for a year. So I'd just like to propose some changes to the Township Committee with regard to this ordinance and hopefully, you know, do what we can within the confines of the law and the Constitution to revamp this.
Can we take a 2-minute break so I can run to the ladies?
And just with that, or as we do this, just republicize the no knock list. I know you do that periodically, but.
Absolutely.
Just real quick, a public announcement that town hall is closed tomorrow for Juneteenth. All other municipal functions will be going on, so only non-union people have off tomorrow. Just wanted to let everybody know that.
Even though the state holiday is Friday.
Yeah, and federal holiday is Monday.
I know.
Okay, public comment. This public comment period is allowed for final comments from the community. When invited to speak, to offer your comments, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and or a property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and readily available to the public. A reminder that in order to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall be limit their comments to 1 3-minute session.
Again, my name is Jeffrey Feld. I live in the poets section. I really want to talk about and hopefully give assistance in our fight to sever the 9 Main Street project. There's several things. Last week, Livingston published a notice of a amended fair share and final compliance notice. The last paragraph is very interesting. It's changing about citizens having the right to speak. I'm surprised no one really talked about what happened yesterday with Mr. Norcross. And the reason I say this, because I'm the only person that was ever really a slap suit was filed against them by RPM. And I filed a counterclaim and a third-party complaint talking about criminal enterprises. Fast forward 8 years ago, our Attorney General starts talking about it. And there's certain issues. And one thing that has to be mentioned in our reply papers, let's go back to July 30th, 2021, a special meeting on less than 45 minutes notice. Was the only resident there that spoke out and did not know the terms. And when you file your papers, I think you need to put certain exhibits in. I think you need to amend your exhibits to the redevelopers agreement. because they ask if there's any pending litigation that gets read in this settlement. There is. It's called Fell versus City of Milburn, Township of Milburn, where I was seeking an injunction, which because I filed this case about 2 weeks before this, seeking an injunction that we had the right, because someone that council in 2021 took away our right to speak before you took official action. And the reason I raised that, there's certain case law that came out of the Supreme Court talking about the right to be heard in bankruptcy, talking about what's an interest in person. When you look at the Administrative Procedures Act, when an agency was going to take action, they had to give you notice and they had to take public comments. There was no public comments as to the final terms because the public never had the terms. That issue has to be raised. You need to put the exhibit of the conditional redevelopers agreement that there were no deadlines. We had horrible representation. That's not you, Mr. Cantor, people before you. They sold us out. And that better be emphasized in papers. I've offered you the Malenga cases, the 2 cases, the private sale of $1. You can't do it without a redeveloper agreement, a redevelopment plan. I stood up here and said it. What did I get? Mr. Phil, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, I'm telling you something here. The Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney I told you, the FBI came to see me several times. And you need to look at what happened at St. Rose. The same pattern that brought the FBI to see me in Orange is here.
Thank you.
Hi, Jay Morreale, resident. Mr. Cantor did a great job summarizing the Charter Commissions. I will say that it's my understanding that while it's certainly best practice to hold the elections at the same time as the general election, so as not to incur another one, it is possible, my understanding, to hold a special election at any point.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
I would certainly, though, recommend we do it at the general election. I support the formation of the Charter Commission because it asks the residents, do you want a Charter Commission? It's not asking the people on the committee, it's asking the residents. If they don't want it, they can say no. I don't understand what the objection would be. I would recommend doing the commissioners at the same time so as to not avoid another time gap in the process. As was brought up, this was a campaign issue for the candidates that won with a significant majority. I commend Mayor Romano and Committeewoman Prupus and Stoller for supporting this. I think it's fantastic. I do recommend that you put the commissioners on there at the same time. I realize that people have to go out and collect signatures to get on. Some people may be traveling, but that's no different than any other election. I do want to comment on Mr. Cohen's point regarding having election with a number of people on the ballot. I will first remind Committeeman Cohen that in 2022, the winners won with 46% of the vote. They did not have a majority. I don't recall anybody ever saying you don't have a mandate. I certainly never said that. I did not hear it here. I think you've been great up on the dais with 46%. Somebody wins with 35%. So be it. That happens in elections. There are numerous municipalities in New Jersey that have nonpartisan elections and operate just fine. Hoboken, Verona, I could go on and on. So in my opinion, move forward with this, do the commissioners at the same time, and follow through on what the voters asked for last November. Thank you.
Thank you. Since I decided to stay to the end, Alex, the crosswalk at Ivy and Ridgewood, it would be great because that could be done before the school year. We do have more kids walking again. And I love that you're still doing the poster contest. That's really nice. Ironically, the last time I was walking at the corner of Wyoming and Milburn Avenue, who did I run into? Jen Duckworth. And we were talking about how hard it is to cross at Wyoming and Milburn Avenue. And as we're sitting there waiting to cross, the light never went on. So I really wanted to know if Essex County responded, if they would allow Milburn, I mean, how expensive could it be to put the mechanism on the existing traffic lights? Because I was in Summit the other day, my son moved to Summit, and there it beeps, beep, beep, beep. So, I mean, there's things we could do that would make crossing our intersections much safer. And I do hope that we can find a place to plant trees. Good night.
Good evening, Jerry Kong, Short Hills resident. Just wanted to make some comments about the Charter Commission. I'm fully in favor of a Charter Commission. I think it's a great idea. I just think that, as with everything in life, timing matters. You know, given that it's the summer, I think that my recollection when I read the statute is that you need 100 signatures on a petition. The town empties out over the summer. It's going to be, by the second read of the ordinance, it'll be August. You'll have 75 days for hopefully at least 5 people to step up, gather 100 signatures per each, and end up on the ballot. Somehow get the message out, educate the community as to what their stance is on a charter commission is. So, you know, I think, look, it would be great if we could get this started as soon as possible. I think that we should think deeply about hashing out all of the details, whether or not we want to elect commissioners at the same time. If not electing commissioners at the same time, when do we elect commissioners? I would highly suggest that you do not elect commissioners at the same time as a primary election, because that would sort of defeat the purpose as to, you know, the percentage of people coming out to vote in a primary election. 45% of the town is independent voters. They're not even going to show up at a primary election. So let's just make sure that if we do this right, that if we do this, which I am fully in favor of doing it, and I hope all of you are in favor of doing it, because we should let the residents speak for themselves. But if you want to do something, do it right. If you mess it up the first time, there's a 4-year lockout period where you're not allowed to do it again. And you know, a lot can happen in 4 years. So look, I think it's great that people are sticking to their campaign promises, but we need to just think very deliberately about how we want to proceed. Because when we act too quickly and we act too rashly, and we think that we're under the gun for whatever reason, self-imposed or otherwise, we end up with bad decisions. And Mr. Feld spoke right here about the bad decisions that happened in August 2021 with the Fair Share Housing Settlement Agreement, which we're still talking about 3 years later. So let's, take a deep breath, think about how we're going to do everything, gather all of the information, and then figure out the right way to proceed. Okay, I think there's a little bit of bickering that I'm seeing up here, which is a little bit disappointing because I think that people should be acting more mature. And instead of scoring political points or, trying to put someone into a corner, I think the important thing is what is best for our community. People need to think, sit back in their seats, and make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Richard Seibert, how you doing? Township President. Great line I heard is small steps, big accomplishments. This is just a small step that's being asked about the commissions. It could be a big accomplishment, but it starts with the small step. That's all. Take the small step.
Jean Pasternak. I just like to say that I think that people here that have not actually gone out and gathered signatures over the summer really have no idea what they're talking about. People are not here in town. We've worked very hard for at least 4 years getting the word out to the community. You saw the result of that last year at the election. People are interested in this nonpartisan topic, but it's unfair not to allow people enough time that might want to be involved, might want to be on the commission, to be present and able to get the signatures to get themselves on the ballot. I 100% agree with the nonpartisan effort and doing the commission of some form, but I do not agree with the timing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else before we go online? Good evening. Could you put your camera on, please? Thank you.
I'm gonna speak about the Paper Mill Playhouse. I'm not gonna give you the same facts and figures I gave you last time. I agree with everything Jerry said. In Sunday Star Ledger, Ben Stoller, by the way, made a comment that we could lose them, they could go somewhere else. I want to tell you something. They're not going to the Mayo Arts Center in Morristown. I went to a show up there, Led Zeppelin. This ran in the Star Ledger. It ran this week, Sunday. There are 100 events in that theater in Morristown. The Bee Gees, Whitney Houston tribute to Pearl Jam, New Jersey Ballet, Charlie Brown Christmas, Johnny Mathis Christmas, New Jersey Ballet Nutcracker, Jay Leno Live, Blind Boys of Alabama, Yitzhak Perlman, Gilbert and Sullivan, Swan Lake, Jay Leno, the National Dance Company of Ireland, etc. 100 different events, and they don't need 500 employees to put these events on. They come with packages. There's no way in the world that some of these places would take on the obligations of the Paper Mill Playhouse. And this is their schedule for the next 12 months. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think we have to get a lot tougher with the paper mill. I haven't seen any compromises. I haven't heard them say they'll cut back one show. They'll cut back 100 people. No compromises. All I heard from Jerry was they're possibly going to spend more money. They're going to do more seating. And I love the paper mill. I'm not against it. I said that last time. Please reconsider. It's not too late. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm sorry, Perry Urso, Upper Milburn Avenue. Just a quick question. When you talked about the knocking solicitors, is that also going, are you considering that also for the commercial businesses? So just wanted to get that question out there. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. And I hope you gentlemen on the dais had a wonderful Father's Day. Have a good night.
We should do a shout out for the Juneteenth on Friday.
Okay, I will now close public comment. Does anyone want to respond to any public comment? Deputy Mayor?
So for those of you that spoke about the concerns with the timing on the Charter Commission, I absolutely agree with you. It's essential that we get the timing correct, because we get one chance, one bite at the apple, and we're locked out for 4 years if it fails. So just to make it clear, my position is that I'm fine with the question of whether to put the Charter Commission, whether to form a Charter Commission could go on this year's ballot. I would only agree to that as long as the election of the commissioners is on the November 2025 ballot. I feel it is imperative that we give adequate time to have commissioners identified, have them run, have them have a campaign. This is a very important issue, and we need to make sure we do it right. I've always been, one of my mantras is if you're gonna do something, do it once and do it right. And so I just want to put that out there. That's my position. So hopefully the ordinance will be drafted that way and we'll be able to vote on it next meeting.
Committeewoman Purpose?
Okay, I'm in agreement with Frank. I think that's a good way to do it. And right, primary is not an option, so I agree that the ordinance should be drafted in that. Totally fine with it.
Committeeman Stoller?
No, I certainly agree with we get one bite at the apple. I mean, that's what we ran on. I 100% want to get this on the ballot for this election. We could do a special election, we can wait till November. It really doesn't matter. The key is about getting the first part of the snowball rolling down the hill, and then let it go from there. So I think that is the easy solution that we can agree with. Just comment on Mike Becker on the Paper Mill Playhouse. I'm not sure if the Paper Mill Playhouse is moving to the Mayo Center. The Mayo Center is a prime example of the coordination and the collaboration with Morristown and the economic benefits it brings to the town. This is what a lot of people are missing on the Paper Mill Playhouse. It's not a giveaway. That's gaslighting the community. What it is we're collecting $350,000 of combined revenue. We're paying $200,000 a year for a 30-year bond. For that, we get all of the economic impacts, we get the cultural events, we get the qualitative educational programs for our children, and we get to grow with them. Obviously, there has to be a strict and intense monitoring process of how the money's spent. They've already put that through and told us what that money would be spent on. And if Mike Becker has the number, I'd love him to email me of how many employees the Mayo PAC has, because he seems to know, but I've not seen that number anywhere. So I would like to see that number. Thank you.
Committeeman Cole?
I have nothing to add.
Mr. McDonald?
Just to answer Ms. Urso's question, it does include commercial properties. It's any address can be on the no knock list. And in terms of Ivy and Ridgewood, I think, and I'll verify it from Ms. Eglo, but I think that this is a part of our overall CBDG money. But our community development block grant money that we utilize for accessibility projects. And so we're waiting on our award of that money from the county, which probably won't happen until the fall. Unfortunately, I don't think that particular intersection will be done prior to school start. But it is on the list of those intersections that we are tackling, including several up in the, I believe the Coniston and South Terrace area, as well as a
a few other stragglers, so.
And to her point, can we look at that light at Wyoming and Milburn Avenue?
We have brought this light to the attention of the county previously. We can certainly do it again. I think that they were not going to allow us to make improvements to it, but I'll verify that again. I know our traffic sergeant has reached out to them.
Okay, because I guess Orlando's already left, who's the Essex County representative. It'd be nice to bring it
Fair,
to
we
him.
can bring it to him.
And, but, you know, I understand exactly what she's talking
It's
about.
been a consistent complaint.
Yeah, so, all right.
Nothing further, Mayor, thank you.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.